Hey everyone, welcome to the Smitching Hour. It's your girl Molly,
And Alyssa.
and yeah, welcome to the Smitching Hour. We are live on Facebook. I'm actually very excited about this episode. I don't know about you guys. It's a little. I feel like the one topic is much weirder than the other, if that makes sense.
Or am I thinking the topic you're thinking? Are we being
You,
telepathic right now?
I think so, because there's one topic that I'm like, okay. But before we get into that, let's light the candle, set the mood, get ourselves ready. I have the same as usual. I got Ocean Star.
That's the usual one? I thought it was the cactus bloom one.
Oh, that's my other usual one too. I got her too, trust me.
I have Jamaica Me Crazy. Oh, I just realized my fan's on. I should probably turn this off so my candles don't blow out. Alright, and then I got the kudzu.
Oh, hello. Can you turn on?
The worst part about this is I got this through a fundraiser in high school for choir, and you can't really smell them before it happens. So you kind of
Really?
just less. Yeah.
All right.
Alright. Perfect. Oh, I
Hey,
just myself.
you good?
I'm perfect. I'm ready. I'm excited.
All right. Well, for today's episode, we'll be getting into some recent conspiracies that became popularized on, you said TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And it's about whether Helen Keller was real or not. Okay. And then we're going to talk about insane asylums.
So, to start off with Helen Keller, I don't know if it's just because people are in quarantine and they have nothing better to do than second guess like life and reality and stuff like that. But for a little background on who Helen Keller is, if you don't know, she was born June 27th in 1880 in Alabama and died June 1st in 1968. She was an American author and educator that was both blind and deaf. For this, she was such an inspiration to both communities. However, originally she wasn't born that way. At the age of around 19 months, she ended up developing an illness, and some believe that it was the scarlet fever that was going around. But that ended up leaving her both blind and deaf. So she was taught by Annie Sullivan. There has been movies created surrounding her life. She wrote many books, and she learned Braille and how to speak by placing her fingers on people's lips or their throat to hear or feel the vibrations. And then she would also have someone sign the words to her, but in her hand. That way she could like feel around what the signs were.
I remember watching a movie. I know there's many, but I remember being in black and white, so it was older, and you'll see like the way she do it and how they taught. I find it so interesting how she was able to like communicate. But now, even though she clearly is a real person, which, I hope you guys know she is a real
Yes. I hope
person.
you guys don't believe people on TikTok.
Yeah,
I
that's,
believe
yeah.
them for some things, but not this.
There are others with these same conditions. For some reason, there has been speculation on her existence that has been coming up more recently. There was an article from the New Yorker magazine called What Helen Keller Saw, and started off with a little bit of background information on both Keller and Sullivan, but then gets into the questionable degree of ambiguity on where Keller's thoughts actually came from. The author wrote oh my goodness, the author wrote that at least three separate times in her life, the likeliness of genuity in her work was seriously doubted.
So what also interests me is like, since like when you're blind, what do you see? Like, is it just black or do you see
So it's
sparks?
like a it's like a spectrum. So I follow this one YouTuber. I think her name is Molly Burke. She has my name. And I don't know if you've seen Shane Dawson doing like a video on her.
Yeah.
Amazing. And she like explains like whether it's like completely black or not. So it's kind of like a spectrum, and it depends on what kind of disorder you have. So for her, at least Molly Burke's, pretty much everything is completely blurry, but if you but because she could see the brightness of a window, and if a person's in front of a window, she can kinda see the silhouette. But there's also people who have complete blackness and can't see anything, so you know,
Cause
it's
that's like my grandmother in one of her eyes she's blind. So like she sees shadows.
mhm,
But then like there's some I was like what if it's like when you're going to bed at night and you kind of just see like the black but then you could see like random like outlines? Like what if there's like
yeah,
little like specks of stuff? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like, even for me, I'm deaf in one ear, but I can still hear out of it, it's just not as much, you know?
Yeah.
It's
But as she was saying, with the work being doubted, an example of why it was doubted comes when the author says that there was like the Wawa incident, which is like the water, when she tried pronouncing that, which happened at the age of 7 and by the age of 9. So a lot of people were like, how is she saying water? Like, there's no way that happened. And then Keller wrote actually to the author and said, I thought you would be glad to hear that, or to an author, I thought you would be glad to hear that your beautiful poems make me very happy. Yesterday I read In School Days and My Playmate, and I enjoyed them greatly. It is very pleasant to live here in our beautiful world. I cannot see the lovely things with my eyes, but my mind can see them all. And so I am joyful all day long. So, okay, before I continue that, it also makes me like I wish I could talk to Helen Keller cuz it interests me to be like I understand that they're signing the words to her and stuff like that, but how would they describe it? Like, if they're
yeah,
describing a bottle of water, how would she be like, envision it? You know what I mean?
it's probably very different than what it actually is, you know what I mean?
What which is what makes me curious because I'm like, does she have some spot on? Or is she like, I don't like how would she view them? Oh, that's so cool. I don't know. But also, she mentions, let's see, when I walk out into my garden, I cannot see the beautiful flowers, but I know that they are all around me. For is not the air sweet with their fragrance? I know, too, that they have little tiny lily bells, are whispering pretty secrets. Oh, that's cute. To their companions. Else they
Oh,
would
that's
not be
cute.
so happy. Because I love flowers and like how she's describing it, I just love her outlook on the world, even though she's unable to see it. Because I'm sure there were times when she's like, this stinks. I can't keep doing this. But
Yeah,
she
for
still
sure.
made some good things out of it. And she says, I love you very dearly because you have taught me so many lovely things about flowers and birds and people.
Aw, she has such a positive outlook on
She's
life, which
such
is
a
great.
sweetheart. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love her.
We love her, she was real.
Yeah, she was.
Alright, from the eyes of a conspiracy theorist, the fact that it was written by someone who, at most 2 years prior, was a deaf-blind, illiterate, non-language speaking mute that just made the connection for the first time that objects have some type of symbolic representation. Now, all of a sudden, she's writing like a college student? On the Wawa incident, Oswick wrote a reflecting Keller saying, quote, somehow the mystery of language was revealed to me, end quote. The thirst for knowledge began there. According to Oswick, most skeptics say that because Keller would have such a hard time understanding the world around her without her even ever seeing it, most of her thoughts were merely the perception of those closest to her and influenced by what she read. This theory has credibility because for almost two-thirds of her life, Annie Sullivan was with her everywhere. Each school she went to, Sullivan would transcribe every lecture note and sign everything in her hands. Also, later in her life, she lived with a strongly socialist man, Sullivan's husband, and it was reflected in her writing. Interesting. I
Yeah,
would love to read her stuff.
that's very interesting because of the influence they had on her because she basically spent her whole life with them. So they
Mhm.
could have also told her anything and she would have believed it. So it's interesting to see how that dynamic worked as well. And also how Annie Sullivan was okay with it because that was her whole life. her whole life was surrounded around Helen Keller. So, like, I wanna know from her point of view too, like, was that what she wanted in life?
Oh, true.
'Cause, I mean, she
Yeah.
did great things for Helen, and I'm sure they were best friends. It was up till Annie's death that they actually separated, but I'm sure, like, she was 20 years old when she first was with Helen. So I'm like,
Mhm.
did she imagine that being her life forever? Or was she like, "Alright, I'm gonna spend a few years here, go travel the world," and then never did?
Yeah, yeah, now that I think about it, is that what she, like, wanted? But, it was probably the most fulfilling thing that she's ever done. Getting someone who is blind, deaf, mute to actually communicate, talk, and be an award-winning writer, you know?
Yeah, yeah, not many people can say that.
Exactly, she's like, "I taught that girl.
Mhm.
What up?"
And then, as you were saying, that also brings the conspiracy to their next point. So Keller wrote a couple different memoirs and autobiographies, among other things. And Oswick's article, she quotes Sullivan's husband saying, when she began work at her story more than a year ago, she set up on the Braille machine about 100 pages of what we called material, and it was consisting of detached episodes and notes put down as they came to her without definite order or a coherent pattern. So then came the last task where one who has eyes had to help her. So what they did was is they would be the ones like Sullivan and her husband to put the pages in order. So the
Oh.
conspiracy was a little concerned because they weren't really sure of what their motives were. They're like, "Oh, they could be doing good things for her, but what if they weren't?"
I mean, I think that's just a trust thing, you know what I mean? On whether the people she was with were jerks or not.
Mhm. And the conspiracists said that there were a lot of gray areas concerning her motives, like she's a writer but was also robbed of her own life because Helen was so dependent on her. But if that's what she wanted to do, then it could be looked both ways. So really,
I
is
would
the
I would find it
conspiracy
fulfilling.
about Annie Sullivan? Maybe it's not Helen y'all are after, maybe it's Annie.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta
it's
say.
crazy. Well, since this has just come into play as a conspiracy, there isn't too much evidence for it, and I think it's just quarantine getting to people. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Um,
I keep seeing people in videos, like, arguing about it, and they're saying, like,
like,
"Oh, she fell from a window and survived, and she's blind to death. People can't do that." And
what?
I'm like,
Wait,
"That's not how that works."
how does that make an argument?
I don't know. And the thing
He
is
fell through a window and was blind and deaf. I'd be like, "I'm sorry, but I feel like you're more at risk of falling out of a window if you're blind and deaf."
yeah.
Like, I don't I
And the
don't know about this.
other thing is that it's not like she's the only blind and deaf person there is. There's a
Exactly.
specific language for those who are deaf, which is called, well, deaf and blind, which is like tactile signing, which means like you're using someone's hand to feel out the sign. Yes, of course, it's harder to learn and to speak when you can't hear or see, but there are ways to make that work. You adapt. I
Yeah.
don't know what people don't get
So
about that.
so did Sullivan know about that kind of sign language or that kind of language, or did she, like, invent it for Helen Keller?
See, I'm still up in the air about that because it was 1880. So I'm
True.
sure a lot of things were still being changed and evolved and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm sure with what was happening, they were like, all right, well, how could we adapt this to her? So I'm sure sign language was already a thing. And they were like, how could we get her to understand what it is? So they're like, all right, touch my hand. What does it feel like? And stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the
That's
thing
crazy to me.
always crazy to me is that when you're teaching someone and it's like A, B, C, D, like how do you get them to actually correlate the A to an A sign if they never knew what an A was? But it's a
That's
thing
true.
to
It's
grow
so
up, I guess.
yeah, that's just I don't know, it's so weird to me. It's not well, not weird, fascinating is a better word.
Yeah.
Think
I
crazy.
because I
But
really I don't know how they do it. it interests me because I'm like, how? I want to sit down with someone and be like, please explain. I actually saw a documentary in my ASL class about it. And it was like this woman and her whole family, well, not her whole family, but most of her family who had it. So her siblings would like sign and she'd like touch their hand. But also, the thing that interests me is that you don't really find many who try to study so they could talk where Helen did. She was like focusing on lip reading, even though she couldn't see, she
Yeah.
could touch and stuff like that. And I feel like that's not what many people do, at least from what I've seen. So,
Yeah, Helen Keller was just determined.
yeah,
She's
and
like, "I'm gonna talk."
very inspirational to
Yeah.
everyone who has that.
Yes. Well, moral of the story, I'm not believing this.
She's
She
real
was very
nice.
she was very much real, and she's a great inspiration to many, and I can't believe people are actually arguing about this.
I don't get it. I'm like, and I'm
And
trying
their arguments are invalid.
exactly, and I'm trying to see it from other people's point of view, but I genuinely can't.
I was like, "I'll be the jerk and closed-minded one on this one. I'm not gonna see from their point of view. That girl was real. Come on now."
There's photos, like, what do they think went on? Do they think Annie Sullivan was like, I'm gonna publish this under her name? Like, she went to college and stuff. She got her
Yeah.
degrees. It's insane.
Yeah, there you go. I just I mean, like, I could see Sullivan being a lot of help for her books and stuff,
Mhm.
like, assisting her, but Helen Keller gets most of the credit. Like, I don't
Yeah.
whatever.
The one
I
who
can't.
like went through it firsthand.
Yeah. It, like, makes me angry. I'm like, "Guys," makes me lose faith in TikTok as if I ever had faith in TikTok.
Because here's my thing. I usually find a lot of conspiracies on TikTok and they're actually really good. Because people are make whole series out of them.
Yes.
Then you get something like this and you're like,
This
TikTok
ain't it.
graded.
This ain't it, chief. But
But poor Helen. She
I
deserves
know.
better. She needs
She does.
recognition.
She does deserve better.
She didn't do all this to be knocked off as a conspiracy theory.
On TikTok, of
Yeah,
all
of all
platforms.
places.
If she saw TikTok today, she'd be like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah,
I mean, she wouldn't be able to see. Oh God,
she probably does see it if she's a ghost. And she's probably
that's
just
true.
looking over someone watching it and she's like, no.
She wouldn't say it's silly. That's for sure.
Oh no, she wouldn't.
She's like, "What the heck is this?" All right, I think we're good to go to our next topic, right?
Mhm.
Nothing to do with Helen Keller, by the way. We're not related. Because the next topic is insane asylums, but not because Helen Keller was insane.
She
It's
was
just because no, she was very smart and got her degree.
no,
I'm just
I feel like okay, in the one movie I saw with her, I could have swore people thought she was insane. Didn't
yeah, probably.
she first started off? Because I
I
don't
mean,
think
I
they
don't
could
know.
tell at first. I
I
don't
think
know. I
what
saw this movie a long
wait,
time ago. Because
I
basically,
think I know what you're talking
deaf and
about.
blind, and then they couldn't like understand why she was having fits and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I think they didn't know she was deaf and blind till a little bit later in her life, and then they saw her acting like as a kid throwing these crazy tantrums because she can't see or hear anything, so she's just sitting there confused as a 4-year-old, as a toddler,
this is a
and
weird.
they're like, "What's happening?"
This is a weird comparison. It reminds me of the Salem witch trials when the kids would throw fits and say that they were like being possessed by witches.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, it all correlates. Conspiracies going every which way. Insane asylums. I'm ready.
All right. Well, yes. I'm like out of it today. Don't mind me, guys. I just graduated, so my brain is now like, "You're done with school."
Congratulations.
Oh, thank
I feel
you.
like I've told you that like 5 times now, but I'm
I
never
know.
stop.
It was official as of yesterday, I think. That's when my final grades went in. And
That's really the insane thing.
what?
Get it? Because
I
insane
I
asylum,
hate you.
insane- that's a knee slapper. Ow, that hurt.
All right. So our next topic is about insane asylums. I've just always been so captivated about it, and I just have one complaint so far before we begin. Shane Dawson does not have a video on this.
I'm surprised.
And right? I was looking up stuff last night for the show and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get audio from Shane because that's where I always get my audio from." Nothing. I was like, "Shane Lee." Lee's his middle name. I'm like, "Shane Lee, make a video about insane asylums because I know he'd go in. And it'd
Yeah,
be so
you'd
good."
actually go to an insane asylum.
What? I would love that. I would do that. Are you kidding me?
I want to go to this. I would totally do that. I'd be
Right?
terrified, but I'd do it.
I think it'd be dope. All right, we're gonna begin. So it's just kind of a brief history about the earliest sane asylums that were made in the 1700s. So the mentally ill in early American communities were generally cared for by family members back in the day. However, in severe cases, they sometimes ended up in um, almhouses or jails because they didn't really know what was going on with these people. They were just like, they're crazy, which means they're a criminal, so throw them in jail,
Mhm.
which is not okay. These people and their families would sometimes even be punished because back then mental illness was said to be caused by failure in religious practices. So they thought the Satan or like hell was like going upon them, and that's why they act a certain way, or lack of moral beliefs. As the population grew and certain areas became more densely settled, mental illness became one of a number of social issues for which community institutions were created in order to handle the needs of individuals collectively. And before we go on, when they mean that like certain areas became more densely like settled and more like mental ill people, a lot of times because there wasn't any like medication obviously back in the 1700s. So say if someone just had like ADHD, so they can't focus on one thing at a time and they're hyperactive, they think they're crazy and they're a criminal and all this kind of stuff. So they'll throw them into an asylum where
Mm,
you'll see some of the practices they do that are messed up and not get the treatment they actually deserve when it's such a mild case.
mhm.
But yeah, continue.
So in 1752, the Quakers in Philadelphia were the first in America to make an organized effort to care for the mentally ill. The newly opened Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia provided rooms in the basement, complete with shackles attached to the walls, to house a small number of mentally ill patients. I hate when shackles get involved.
Like it's messed up. They really think
Chaining
they're these
people up
animals.
like yeah, exactly, like animals. It's so sad. And then within a year or two, the press for admissions required additional space and a ward was opened beside the hospital. Eventually, a new Pennsylvania hospital for the insane was opened in a suburb in 1856 and remained open under different names until 1998. Interesting.
Mhm.
Why
Uh,
Pennsylvania?
I guess they were the ones who were like, you know what? We're just gonna lock them all up into a place. You
Yeah,
know, they
seems
were the ones who.
seem nah.
Were you gonna say it's fitting?
I I well,
You're about to bash PA.
no, not even that. I'm saying because of how PA is set up, there's a lot of grassland, so I could see like, because you
Yeah.
wouldn't want a hospital around things. So you could easily put a hospital in PA around nothing.
Well, this is in Philly,
Mm, so
or
then
like right on the outskirts of Philly.
I could still see it. I could
Yeah.
also see it like, I can't see New Jersey or New York. It would definitely have to be like a fieldy like state.
Yeah, for sure. I
I'm
agree with that.
surprised in Philly, out of all places, like you could put it in this. Well, okay. Well, 1752.
I would say it wasn't that dense, like city, like
Yeah, I was like, people aren't really that like expanded across the
I would
country.
say there weren't roads or anything because
Yeah.
people there were
And I feel
wagons.
like with how many states are around Philadelphia, that would be a good hub.
Hmm.
You, we see you, Philly.
Go birds. Anyway. Oh god, my brain today. All right, next up, in 1773, the Virginia legislature provided funds to build a small hospital in Williamsburg to deal with mentally disturbed people who were causing problems in the community. So not because, oh, we want to help these people, it's because, oh, they're so disturbing, they're annoying us, we're just gonna take them away. I
That
hate this.
that's awful.
Yeah,
They're still people.
exactly. I agree.
It's not like they asked for this.
Exactly. Over the years, the hospital grew in size and as needs arose, but stayed within the area until the mid 20th century, when a new hospital was built in a suburb. Today, it is the Eastern State Hospital. So obviously, as time goes on, there mental institutions were huge back in the day, but once like late 50s, early 60s, they all started shutting down because it was just unmoral practices. And now a lot of the mental institutions you see now, like Eastern State Hospital, it's now just a normal hospital.
So nowadays, are they more supposed to be like rehabilitating, like rehab centers and stuff like that?
Yeah, so if people are like schizophrenic or something, that's when you go to a mental institution and they actually help you find ways to live with it and adapt and get medication.
Mhm.
So they don't like put you in an electrical chair like some of these hospitals used to do and stuff.
Yeah. And in 1792, the New York Hospital opened a ward for curable insane patients. In 1808, a freestanding medical facility was built nearby for the humane treatment of the mentally ill. And in 1821, a larger facility called the Bloomingdale Asylum was built in the now Upper West Side. And in 1894, it was moved further away to the suburb of White Plains and is currently under operations in the Payne Whitney Westchester Hospital, a division of the New York Hospital Cornell Weill Medical Center. Is it
That's
Weill
the
or
longest
Wheel?
name. While I would say,
Weill? Yeah. That is a long name. Wait.
right? I saw your email like that's the longest name of a hospital I've ever heard.
And the fact that it's a division. So it's
Yeah,
New York Hospital, Cornell Weill Medical Center, and then the division is Payne Whitney Westchester Hospital.
good job, guys. Great naming.
Wow.
All right, so now we're getting into the more creepy side. So we're getting into the spooky stuff now.
I'm scared.
You're scared?
A little bit.
I'm telling you, insane asylums are like a creepy subject, and that's what I.
But
Not
it's
that I.
so exhilarating.
Yeah, I love the topic so much. Even though I know many people were tortured, may they rest in peace. I don't know. I just find it so fascinating.
That's also the
Uh,
sad thing. I feel like there's a lot of activity in insane asylums because of the fact that they were never peacefully like departed. It was always against their will.
yeah, I agree. So right now for you guys, we have some insane asylums that you would not want to be stuck in. So more of the creepy ones. So starting with Rancho Los Amigos in downtown Los Angeles, California. It was originally created in 1888 to assist people living in poverty. Here they could work in exchange for care with the local government. Over time, the grounds were extended and the space evolved into a hospital. Eventually, it grew into a mental hospital. Though the hospital itself is still in use, it has moved to another location. In the 1950s, it began to shut down its wards, including the mental institution. Along the way, some gruesome secrets were discovered. In 2006, during a training exercise, Marines uncovered a freezer in the morgue. Inside, they found mummified, amputated limbs and brain tissue samples that were left behind from when the hospital was abandoned. Alyssa's face right now.
But why?
Exactly. Exactly.
Wait, also, if you're abandoning a hospital,
Just
what
gonna
would be
leave the
your
limbs.
reason for yeah, why would you leave that
I
there?
mean, maybe they were
Just
using it
forget
for research.
that okay, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it was after these people were dead that they decided to amputate.
Who knows?
That, yeah, that's the crazy part. Cuz I would like to believe that, but I also don't even believe what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't. believe it's I mean, if I've seen brain tissue samples,
Yeah.
then, and it was in a well, it was in a morgue, so it was after they died,
Well,
unless they were just in the morgue. Yeah.
that's my thing. Cause well, also, you don't have to be dead to be amputated. So they could have
That's
just
true.
amputated someone and they're like, "All right, we're just gonna leave your limb
Like,
here."
I can't
And
imagine.
it's also interesting because they could be doing this as like medical evolution and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they could also be doing it as like, "Oh, let's store this in case we need to reattach something to someone or stuff like that." But
Yeah. I mean, this is why these hospitals were shut down in the late 50s because even if something like that was used for research, it's unethical. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I just I wouldn't have left that behind. They could easily, if you're a doctor, they're like, you worked here and we found amputated limbs and brain tissue, you're arrested. Why would you leave evidence?
Yeah.
I mean,
They just don't care.
I don't agree with this, and I think these people should get arrested. But if you're gonna do it right.
Maybe it was legal at the time.
Ew.
Also, I mean, you don't know that because they were thinking, "Oh, it's medical evolution. We're gonna discover all these great things from these insane
That's the
people."
thing. Was this like normal?
It
Like
was all legal until the late 50s, until
it was.
whoever yeah, until they were like, "This is messed up. Maybe we should stop."
Gosh, I don't like it. But there it gets worse.
I would say this is like the tame one.
Oh god. But next up, we have the Creedmoor Psychiatric Hospital in Queens, New York. It opened in 1912 as the farm colony of Brooklyn State Hospital and is still running in Queens. There are some places that have been abandoned to rot, most notably Building 25, which the hospital stopped using in 1975. This ward gained its reputation from a series of reports documenting brutal treatments of patients. In the 1970s, rumors began to emerge about an abundance of patients' abuse, including rapes, murders, suicides, and beatings. In 1984, a nurse's aide hit a patient in the throat with a blackjack. What is a blackjack?
I'm gonna look one up right now.
Okay, this is bad, but when I think of blackjack, I think of the game blackjack. So
Oh, yeah. When
I
I
was
googled
really
it, all I got was
confused.
the game. You only look up weapon.
Okay, I'll finish reading this while you do that. But the man, Robert Venegas, was restrained in a straitjacket at the time and died due to asphyxiation, known as a process of being deprived of oxygen. The aide had crushed his throat. Wow.
Yeah, messed up. So this is even later, so this was in the 80s.
Yes. And, well, this is okay. This is interesting because this is I don't know why I'm pointing all the
You're like,
I'm really pointing in all directions trying to understand the comprehend, but this is stuff that still goes on today. It's not as crazy as the other one where it's
mhm.
like amputations and stuff like that, but there's still
Just
instances where people are getting attacked in nursing homes and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Uh, from my research from looking at all this stuff up, a lot of it was from when the hospitals got overcrowded back in the day. They didn't know how to deal with all of these people, so in order for them to shut up, pretty much, they would just beat them
Mhm.
or,
So
alright, but I have photos of a blackjack, so
oh,
I'll share it to you guys.
it's a baton weapon?
Hold on. Wait, why is it not letting me share my screen? There it is. I
Interesting.
thought I was going crazy.
Hmm.
So, here it is. It's like,
Why would they have that in a hospital?
I don't know. It's like I can't say it.
It's like a paddle, but it's also not.
It's yeah,
It's like
yeah.
oh, what are they? It's like it like. You know how a gun holster is set up? It
Yeah.
reminds me of, like, the flat part of the holster.
Yeah, like, it's like you see some of them that are like a paddle, like, right here, and then you see this, that's just
Yeah, some are,
a
like,
stick.
more of a baton shape, like a
Yeah,
police baton type of thing. Interesting.
yeah, I don't
Oh,
like that.
I don't like I saw something, it said it was medieval. I don't
Oh,
like that it's like a medieval torture device over here.
that's another topic I'm very interested in.
Medieval torture?
Yeah.
I've gone to medieval times and I always go in their little museum
Oh,
of
it
the
sounds so cool.
but
I've
also
never been there.
you've never been to wow, you should
Yeah,
go, it's fun. And
word.
also it was saying how they are short, concealable, and weighted. They're usually filled with lead powder, molded lead clay, or lead shot.
Jesus.
It's a bludgeoning device. So, yeah, it explains why he was deprived of oxygen from
Like, it crushed him, like, in his
oh,
right
yeah,
here. Messed up.
that's
Alright,
crazy. Maybe sh
next hospital. What were you gonna say?
I said maybe she needs to be the one in the ward.
Oh, oh, she just said that.
What's she gonna
Snaps on
do
that one.
about it? What's she gonna do?
Alyssa's trying to catch these hands. She's like,
Don't ever disrespect Robert again. That poor man. I feel so
yeah, you're
bad for Robert.
poor Robert. I dedicate the show to Robert, guys. Robert and Helen Keller.
Really breaks my heart. He
I
was
know.
probably just like he wasn't even doing anything, and she just beat him up. I can't. We need to move on to the next topic.
All
Thanks.
right, I got you. I got you.
Oh,
So next hospital is Athens Lunatic Asylum in Athens, Ohio. It was built in 1874 and originally intended for treating tuberculosis patients. It housed patients far over its capacity for most of its functioning years. This overcrowding caused the care for each patient to decrease until the hospital began abusing their patients. Its famed physician, Dr. Jackson, was a big fan of transorbital lobotomy, calling it the cure all for every mental illness, which is very much not true. We don't do lobotomies anymore because they're not good. He performed over 200 lobotomies during his time there. And for those who don't know what lobotomies are, they are surgical operations involving incision in the prefrontal lobe of the brain through your eye, formerly used to treat mental illness, resulting in mental dullness. Yeah, messed up. While there were hundreds of deaths when the hospital was open, the most famous is that of Margaret Schilling. She went missing while on the ward, and either no one noticed or cared. Over a month later, her body was found in a locked room in an abandoned part of the tuberculosis ward. And also, later on, I'm going to get more into detail about lobotomies. They're
interesting.
messed up. That was probably one of the most famous practices that doctors did.
Yeah, cause
And
that's like cause your prefrontal. That's like here, right?
yeah, so they do it through your eye. Remember the movie Sucker Punch?
No.
Ah, okay. It's just weird movie of this girl who goes into an insane asylum, and I can't really explain the whole thing. But in the end, she gets a lobotomy, and you know the guy Oscar Isaac, the guy who's Poe Dameron in
Yes.
Star Wars. He's the doctor. Yeah, we need to watch this movie. It's very good. Um, but they do like a needle through your eye right here, and then they just go like that, and it makes like a clicking noise. And for some people, it actually improves their mental health. For others, though, it kind of just turns them into a vegetable, so they don't speak. They can't really formulate words anymore. Their mind is just blank.
Well, cause that's also the thing. Like that's where you process your emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you're literally just, and that's where, from what I've looked up, I didn't put it in here, but that's when a lot of doctors would like sexually assault patients too, because they're pretty much a vegetable. They're not going to say no.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Crazy. Crazy.
And that's like not that's illegal now?
Yes. We don't do them anymore. At least not in the US. I don't have knowledge
What
elsewhere.
do you know what the percentage was, like, successes versus failures?
I
Because
have no
ultimately,
idea.
that were they doing it in hopes it would fail, so they would be vegetables? Or were they like, "Oh, it'll improve your mental health, it's gonna work."
So I just looked it up right now. I'm just on like Google.
Yeah,
They're saying it's a 50% success rate. So you only have a half a chance.
that's awful.
Yeah.
But the last creepy hospital we wanted to discuss is Fairfield Hills State Hospital in Newton, Connecticut. Wait, Newtown, Connecticut. There we go. And open to ease the overpopulation of the other two mental hospitals in Newtown, Fairfield Hills, quickly becoming overcrowded itself and resorted to unconventional methods of treating its patients. Aside from the then normal lobotomies and thorazine prescriptions, interesting, used as a sedative and tranquilizer, this hospital became known for its use of hydrotherapy. I already don't like that.
Mhm.
Used as a calming method, this treatment involved patients being submerged in ice water, sometimes for more than a full day. They were not permitted out, even to relieve themselves. Locals believe the remnants of the Fairfield State Hospital to be haunted, especially the tunnels used to shuttle patients, dead and alive, throughout the sprawling campus. Fairfield Hills, wow, shut down in 1995?
Yeah, they were around for a
Not even
long
a long
time.
time. Yeah, that was not even a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like the okay. Like when I think of like the hydrotherapy, like I think of athletes when they sit in the ice
Mhm.
buckets, but the
Yeah.
these were like against people's wills. I can't. Why do
And like
people do this?
when we do hydrotherapy today, you're in there for what, like, I don't know.
An
My
hour?
guess is 30. Yeah, like an hour. While now it's like not now, but then it was like
All day.
more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
I don't agree with this.
I don't I don't get I don't get where people thought these things were okay. That's what I don't
Yeah.
understand. I don't understand. Oh gosh. I wish I could talk to a doctor from back then and be like, "Do you realize what you're doing?"
I'm like, "Do you know how messed up you are?"
Because that's the thing. At the same time, I don't think they meant anything bad by it, but also you don't know because they could have.
Exactly. Exactly.
But also the blatant disregard of caring for your patients. Isn't the first rule when becoming a doctor you always try and save the patient? Like, isn't that an oath? There's a doctor's oath. I've watched too much Grey's
They
Anatomy.
didn't follow it. They didn't follow it though.
They didn't. I don't understand. It
All
aggravates
right.
me.
Well, to bother Alyssa even more, I have 3 practices or treatments that doctors did in insane asylums. So, first we have trephination, which involves removing a small part of the skull using an auger, bore, or saw. And this practice actually started 7,000 years ago and was likely used way back in the day to relieve headaches, mental illness, or even the belief of demonic possession. Not much is known about the practice due to lack of evidence. So this was used way back in the day, like 7,000 years ago, and then during like insane asylums in like the 1700s. So they would just take off a part of your skull, thinking, "Yep, that'll work." It's not like there's a brain in there or anything.
What does the skull have to do with anything?
I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew what a brain was. That was
Yeah,
what
that's
created,
what I'm thinking. Because if anything, the skull, like, what is it? Just like protects the brain.
exactly. So if anything, they practically killed these people because they have a chunk of their skull out, and if they hit their head, they're gonna get something much bigger than a headache. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and people were still probably getting headaches and stuff like that, and they're like, "Dang it, I thought it worked."
Gosh dang it.
But next up, we have the insulin coma therapy. So this treatment was introduced in 1927 and was used for several decades until the 1960s. In insulin coma therapy, physicians deliberately put the patient into a low blood sugar coma because they believed large fluctuations in insulin levels could alter the function of the brain. Insulin comas could last anywhere between 1 and 4 hours, and patients were given an insulin injection that caused their blood sugar to fall and the brain to lose consciousness. Risks included prolonged coma, in which the patient failed to respond to glucose, and the mortality rate varied between 1 and 10%. Electroconvulsive therapy was later introduced as a safer alternative to insulin coma therapy.
So we're just gonna take all the sugar out of a person. They're gonna be like, yes, this is gonna help the brain. No, it shuts your brain down. Like the evidence is there, but they're like, no, it's working. What?
That's
I
so,
don't understand.
I mean, I know now there's like induced comas, but those are safer than insulin comas.
Yeah, they're putting medicine in. They're putting things in you. They're not taking things out.
Yeah. You
Like
should
I,
deprive the body of something. Uh,
and then what they thought was the safer route was electroconvulsive therapy. We're just gonna electrocute them instead too.
I'm very glad for the time period we're in now.
Yes,
Very grateful.
and like I said before, like people would just have like depression and anxiety or something like that. That is very much treated now with medication or therapy and all that kind of stuff. They would just throw them in insane asylums and do these horrible practices on them, thinking like, "Oh, this will work,"
I have
or
OCD.
"Oh, it's just
Probably lock me up in a straitjacket.
no, probably." Oh,
Mm.
um, but lastly, something that we touched on before are lobotomies. So this now obsolete treatment won the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine in 1949. Yeah, it
Oh,
was designated to disrupt the circuits of the brain, but came with serious risks. Popular during the 40s and 50s, lobotomies were always controversial and prescribed in psychiatric cases deemed severe. It consisted of surgically cutting or removing the connections between the prefrontal cortex and frontal lobes of the brain. The procedure could be completed in 5 minutes. Some patients experience improvement of symptoms. However, this was often at the cost of introducing other impairments. The procedure was largely discontinued after the mid 1950s with the introduction of the first psychiatric medications.
hmm.
It took until we got pills for them to stop doing this. So they thought, oh, and you don't know what they mean by improvements. It to them, being a vegetable can be like, oh, it's better than them freaking out because they're schizophrenic. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, like, even though it says 50% success rate, define success
Yeah,
because now this person has no emotion at all and it's just a vegetable.
that's true. Because,
Messed up.
oh gosh, I can't imagine having like someone go for a lobotomy and them coming back and just being
Nothing.
visual. That's,
And it's sad more than anything.
uh, like one day they're like, I'd
But,
rather
like,
have someone have these issues and learn to handle it than go for this with the chance of never having that person again.
exactly. Think that's what I mean. Like, now it's like, oh, they created pills. Thank God for that.
Yeah. Dang.
But,
It's
right?
it's so crazy. But because at the same time, like, yeah, all this is awful, but like these are things people believed in.
Mhm. Well, I think I don't for some
Like,
hospitals, yes, it was torturous. People they did bad things, they raped and, sexually assaulted, killed them, what have you. But for some of these doctors back in the day, this is what comes with medical evolution, you know what I mean?
yeah,
We're gonna have these messed up practices for them to, wean them out, and then now we have much more safe, um, I was gonna say symptoms, that's not the word, safe treatments to help these people.
because you also have to think if it wasn't for these practices and stuff like that, one, like medical practices probably wouldn't be where they are now. And two, they probably wouldn't be as restrictive as they are.
Exactly.
This, we learned a lot of guidelines to follow. So,
For sure.
yeah,
That's what I mean. It's kind of just how life goes, even though it's so messed up.
yeah.
But on that note, co-star check.
Just like that.
On a lighter note, LOL.
I always get so hyped for co-star checks.
I know, same.
We should make like a
I
song for co-star,
make a what?
like a theme song for co-star.
You
Co-star,
should.
we are checking you. Okay, do you want me to go first or do you want to go?
You can go.
Okay. My light bulb says, leaning into the pain is one way to get closer to God. I mean, I have really bad back
Wow.
pain, which is why I started to go to a chiropractor. So maybe I should stop going to the chiropractor so I can
Just pray.
God. Yeah.
Oh God.
I have power in social life, which is good. Pressure and routine, trouble with thinking and creativity, spirituality, sex and love, and self. That's a lot. Okay. You're ready to have some healthy skepticism. It's in your best interest to create a life. Aim for neat, frank, and uncomplicated. This month, you have to focus on how to work for what you want when it's crunch time. You're not a bad person for moving at your own pace. Determine what belongs to you today and decide how you would like to use these resources. The general theme of your life during this period is to learn everything you can about the hidden aspects of the universe. You can cry while things are going well too. This releases old energy and makes room for new energy. Interesting.
That's
Okay.
a good one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like that. All right. My light bulb is just, what lessons have you learned today? I learned, I mean, I'm not going to learn anything. I graduated.
That's like the other day, it told me to teach someone something new. And I was like, what did I teach people? And I think I taught my sister something. I was like,
Wow. All right. I have power in routine and self, pressure and thinking creativity and spirituality, and trouble and social life and sex and love. So you feel resourceful right now. Give yourself permission to improvise. Be willing to believe in a power greater than yourself. All right. Your desire to change this month depends on your ability to finish what you start. Maybe I should maybe that means I should probably finish all the choreography that I started and just never touched again. This is not a small feat for a person who is afraid of failure and rejection. See how far you can push yourself. The broader focus of your life during this time is to use your excess empathy to lend emotional support to others. Life itself is at the helm, and you are merely at its mercy. What does that even mean?
oh,
I
interesting.
like life itself is at the helm, and you are merely at its mercy. I don't know if that's a good thing or not,
Oh, I don't
right?
even know how to take that.
Oh,
You're at it.
Let's see. I think this is wrong. Just based on the first thing. Okay. My light bulb says wait in the fire. Whatever that means. Power,
interesting.
routine, thinking, creativity, social life, and self. What's social life? Trouble and spirituality, sex and love. Here's where we're wrong, okay? Says the point is to experiment with who you want to be. Now it's the time to assert yourself, get curious. You're young. There it is. You're learning how to live. Okay, there it is. And then it says this month you have to make a choice between controlling your emotions and actually feeling something. You're not your best self when you avoid conflict. Don't change the core parts of yourself to accommodate other people's expectations. All right, that rings true.
I like that.
I think that's
General
good
theme of
advice.
your life, yeah. General theme of your life during this period is to materialize your spiritual ideas. Nature obscures mystery by way of splendor, not by cunning. All right, I'll be shining.
Yes, love that.
Yeah, no,
I
me
just love how I'm at life's mercy right now. Okay.
I'm so
and that's everybody right now.
sorry.
Yeah, literally everyone.
This is
Uh,
all.
but all right, guys. We're actually 3 minutes over, but we did start a little late.
Technical
Also, can
difficulties.
you guys still hear me? Because one of my AirPods just died.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. But that is all the time we have. Thank you guys for joining us. And oh, we didn't change the outro from last week. I was literally about to say thank you, Em, for coming. And she's not even here. But
You have
thank
to
you
blow the
guys.
candles though.
Ah,
We
yes.
do. So, as we blow out our candles, if you guys want more spookiness, oh, my candle blew out from my fan.
Oh,
You can tune in every Saturday from 4 to 5 via Facebook. And that is because we have our summer show now.
yes. Is this officially the summer
Yes,
slot or?
it is.
All right, so
This
so
week
it's summertime.
it's optional, like this weekend. So some people are doing it, some people not. But
Gotcha. But also, if you like to, you can check us out on our socials. For Instagram and Facebook and Spotify, it is at WMSC Radio. Twitter is at WMSC. YouTube is WMSC Radio 903. And SoundCloud is WMSC Radio 90.3 FM. As for our personal socials, all of mine, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is just Molly Jean, but my Twitter and Instagram is Molly Jean 9897.
and for my Instagram and Twitter, it is Alyssa Grace _X, YouTube and SoundCloud Alyssa Salvato, and Spotify Alyssa Grace _X101. So until next week, we'll catch you on the flippity side. Flippity flop. Toodles.
Bye, guys.
I love that.